the Techno Mages of Sol. The galaxy hummed with the quiet pulse of billions of stars. But for the people of Sol, the heart of humanity's empire, one thing stood out above all else: the Techno Mages. The Techno Mages weren't like any magicians of old myths. They weren't conjuring spells with wands, nor were they communing with mystical forces. No, their magic was the magic of the mind and the machine, the perfect fusion of human ingenuity and ancient science, an unholy marriage of tech and mysticism. It all began centuries ago, when humanity first cracked the secrets of quantum computing and artificial intelligence. From that moment, the line between human and machine began to blur, and so too did the boundaries between science and something deeper, something other. The Techno Mages were born when a group of scientists and philosophers, part engineers, part mystics, took the next step. They didn't just merge their minds with machines, they merged their consciousness with the very fabric of reality itself. Their bodies were enhanced with cybernetic implants, and their minds were linked to a network of consciousness that spanned the entire solar system. They could see through every camera, hear every conversation, feel the pulse of every device. But it wasn't just the technology that made them formidable. Their understanding of physics, time, and space was unparalleled. They had unlocked the secrets of the universe's most ancient codes, bending them to their will. In their eyes, everything was a code, every atom, every force. And just as a magician bends reality with a wave of their hand, the Techno Mages could twist the fundamental rules of nature with a thought. On the bustling streets of New Sol City, amidst the towering skyscrapers and flashing neon lights, whispers of the Techno Mages filled the air. Rumors abounded about their powers. Some said they could move objects with their minds, others swore they could alter time itself, but the truth was far stranger. One Techno Mage, a woman named Elara Solis, stood on the highest balcony of the great tower. Her cybernetic eyes glowed faintly as she stared into the stars. She had once been a simple scientist, a quantum physicist who sought to understand the true nature of existence. But now, she was something more, a living conduit to the energy of the cosmos itself. Through her connection to the solar network, Elara could access the ancient codes hidden in the fabric of space-time. A single thought allowed her to communicate with the solar AI, an intelligence far older and more powerful than any human mind could comprehend. But today, she wasn't focused on communication. Today, she was tracking something far more dangerous. A rogue faction of technomancers, those who had abandoned the ethical boundaries the Techno Mages had set for themselves, had begun to exploit the powers they had unlocked. They were tampering with time itself, creating paradoxes and ripping holes in the fabric of space. In their arrogance, they thought they could control the past, the present, and the future. But the universe had its own rules, and those rules were not meant to be broken. Elara, are you sure about this? A voice crackled in her earpiece. It was Kai, a former soldier turned Techno Mage, his voice tinged with concern. We have no choice, Elara replied, her voice calm but determined. If we don't stop them, their experiments will tear the fabric of the universe apart. She reached out, her fingers brushing the air as if she were weaving invisible threads. The nanites embedded in her body hummed with energy, responding to her mental command. Before her, the space around her flickered and distorted as her consciousness linked into the heart of the solar network. She could feel the power of the sun itself coursing through her. Her thoughts flowed through the codes of the universe like a river, tracing the rogue technomancers' chaotic manipulations. They were in the asteroid belt, near a massive structure they had built to manipulate time, a device that could rewrite history itself. Elara's brow furrowed. Time was fragile. She couldn't risk intervening directly without causing an even worse fracture, but she knew what she had to do. With a thought, she called upon the solar AI. A blue holographic shape appeared before her, a shimmering figure, its form ever shifting, its eyes bright like stars. The Nexus device, Elara said. We need to shut it down, now. The AI pulsing recognition, acknowledged, engaging protocol. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The world slowed as Elara's mind worked in overdrive, calculations, possibilities, and the very building blocks of reality swirling in her awareness. The universe, it seemed, was a puzzle, one that she could solve. A moment later, the universe snapped back into focus. The asteroid belt's anomaly vanished, its chaotic ripples disappearing as if they had never been. The rogue Techno Mages were no more. They had tried to break reality, and in doing so, they had vanished entirely, their minds wiped clean by the very fabric of space-time. Elara stood still, her breath steady, her mind flickered with a deep, satisfied calm. It wasn't magic, it was something more, something beyond. The Techno Mages were humanity's new frontier, a bridge between science and the stars, between what was and what could be. They had saved the universe today, but tomorrow, who knew what challenges awaited? For now, though, the stars would remain quiet, and humanity, guided by the Techno Mages, would continue to reach for them. Elara stood on the balcony. The horizon beyond New Sol City bathed in the soft orange glow of the setting sun. The battle with the rogue Techno Mages had been won, but she knew that peace in the galaxy was as fleeting as a breath in a vacuum. The threat had been averted, but the balance was fragile, too fragile. Behind her, a door slid open, and Kai stepped into the room. His expression was serious, a shadow of concern crossing his features. He had been with Elara through countless missions, but even he could feel the weight of this one. It's done, Elara, they're gone. The Nexus device is deactivated, but something still doesn't sit right, Kai said, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. I know what you mean, Elara replied. This wasn't just an act of desperation. There's something bigger behind this. The rogue mages were radical, yes, but they didn't have the power or the knowledge to pull off something that dangerous on their own. Someone's pulling their strings. Kai nodded, stepping closer. We need to find out who, and why. Elara turned toward the massive view of the solar system before her, her gaze falling on the gas giant Jupiter, its moons scattered like jewels in the deep dark. There was a gnawing feeling in the back of her mind, an ancient sense that something was amiss in the solar system. The Techno Mages had become humanity's most powerful defenders, but even they weren't immune to the vast unknowns of the universe. A chime rang from her wrist device. It was a secure communication link, one that only the highest ranks of the Techno Mages could access. The message was encoded with layers of protection, but Elara was quick to decrypt it. It's from the Council, she said aloud, reading the brief text. The message was simple. Elara Solis, there is a new threat in the system, an anomaly in the outer rim. It's not from this time. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Time anomalies, the very thing the rogue technomancers had been playing with. A part of her wondered if their experiment had been a cover for something far worse. A question echoed in her mind. Could it be possible? Get to the quantum matrix chamber, now, Elara said, urgency in her voice. Kai didn't question her. Within moments, they were in the Techno Mage headquarters, an enormous facility buried beneath the surface of Mars. The deep tunnels were lined with glowing circuits and artificial intelligence systems that hummed with quiet energy. As they entered the quantum matrix chamber, the air around them vibrated with the energy of thousands of minds, all interconnected in a vast neural web. The matrix itself was a giant, crystalline structure, its core alive with pulsating light, representing the collective consciousness of all Techno Mages. Elara approached the central interface, her fingers dancing over the controls, accessing the database. Let's see what we're dealing with, she muttered, her mind linking with the matrix. The data flooded in, anomalies in time, strange ripples in the fabric of space, all originating from the outer rim of the system. But there was something else, something even more troubling. The anomalies weren't just random distortions of time, they were intentional. She traced the energy signature to a distant point beyond Neptune, deep in the Kuiper belt. There, in the cold expanse, was a black sphere, a perfect, unnatural sphere, its surface shimmering with unknown energy. The longer she looked, the more Elara's stomach twisted with an uncomfortable feeling of familiarity. I've seen this before, she whispered. Kai, standing beside her, glanced at the readouts. What is it? What are we looking at? Elara's mind raced. The sphere. It was a theoretical project that had once been discussed in hushed whispers among the high-ranking mages, an artifact of unimaginable power capable of manipulating the timeline itself, but it was thought to be nothing more than a legend, an ancient myth about a power too dangerous to wield. But here it was, real and pulsing with the same energy signatures as the rogue mage's Nexus device. Elara? Kai asked, his voice edged with concern. She snapped out of her thoughts, refocusing. This isn't just about time anymore. Someone, something, is trying to rewrite history. We need to stop them. Elara hesitated, her mind battling with the enormity of the situation. If this sphere was what she thought it was far beyond the rogue mage's ambitions. This was something older, something ancient. The power to reshape the past and future wasn't a tool for mortals. It was a power that belonged to forces that existed beyond human comprehension. I know, she said, and I think it's time we face the truth. The Techno Mages have been protecting Sol, but now we're facing an enemy that may not be human at all. We're going to need all the help we can get." Kai raised an eyebrow. "You don't mean?" The chamber deep within the Moon of Titan was dark, cold, and silent. In the center of the room stood a figure, tall, angular, and wrapped in a shimmering cloak of dark energy. Around it, the shadows seemed to breathe, shifting as if they were alive. Elara and Kai stood before it, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. The figure tilted its head slightly, the faintest glimmer of recognition flashing in its eyes. "You seek the answers of the unseen ones," it intoned, its voice a strange blend of many, as if the entity spoke through thousands of minds at once. "We need your help," Elara said, her voice steady. "There is a force trying to manipulate time itself. The sphere, it's not just a weapon, it's the key to something much worse." The figure's gaze lingered on her, its deep, unknowable eyes studying her with a silent intensity. "You, the Techno Mages, have wandered too far," it whispered, the sound reverberating through her very soul. "But your search for knowledge may save you, or destroy you. Time cannot be tamed, nor should it be. Then we need to destroy it. The sphere, the entity behind it, it has the power to rewrite all of history. We can't let it happen," Elara said. The figure's lips curled into a smile, the expression cold and knowing. "You think you can stop it, but some things, child, are already written." A chill ran down Elara's spine. She wasn't sure if the being was warning her, or threatening her. But she had no choice. The fight had already begun, and there was no turning back. "Then we'll rewrite the rules," Elara said with finality. And with that, the Techno Mages' greatest challenge was set before them, a battle not just for the future, but for all of existence. The atmosphere on Titan grew even colder as Elara and Kai walked away from the Unseen One's chamber, the silence pressing in on them like a weight. Elara's mind buzzed with the cryptic warnings the entity had given them. Time cannot be tamed, nor should it be. Those words echoed through her thoughts, but she shoved them aside. She couldn't afford to let doubt creep in now, not when everything was on the line. She turned to Kai, who was scanning the data on his wrist console. "What's the situation on the sphere?" Kai's face was grim as he looked up. "It's not just sitting out there, Elara. The energy readings are escalating. It's as if it's drawing power from every corner of the system, feeding on it. If we don't act soon, it could consume the entire Kuiper belt, and that's only the start." Elara's jaw tightened. "We need to shut it down before it's too late. I have a bad feeling that whoever, or whatever, created it, they're not just manipulating time for fun. This is bigger than we realize. They want to control everything." "I think you're right," Kai said, his voice low, "but we can't just go in guns blazing. That sphere is more than just a machine. It's alive, in a way. It reacts to whatever approaches it." Elara took a deep breath, reaching out with her senses, feeling the hum of the network that connected her to the solar system. The Techno-Mage consciousness, a web of interconnected minds, allowed her to draw on vast amounts of information, but it also made her acutely aware of how fragile the balance of reality truly was. The sphere, whatever it was beyond their current understanding. "We can't afford to waste time," Elara said, her voice firm. "I'll need a team, someone who can work with me directly on the ground. I'll set up a link to the Matrix, initiate a real-time connection, and try to tap into whatever power is driving the sphere. We need to understand it, find its source." Kai nodded. "I'll contact the others, we'll get them ready, but be careful. If the sphere is alive, it's not something we can just dismantle." They parted ways, and Elara headed to the heart of the Techno-Mage headquarters, her mind already working out the specifics. If she was going to face whatever lay beyond the sphere, she would need every advantage. Hours later, Elara stood at the controls of the quantum matrix chamber, a team of elite mages at her back. Their bodies were cloaked in advanced neural interfaces, minds plugged into the tech that connected them directly to the matrix. Their eyes flickered with bright, synthetic energy, an indication that they were ready. Kai stood beside her, looking every bit the battle-hardened soldier, his own neural enhancements giving him a grim confidence. "We're ready," he said. Elara nodded, her gaze hardening as she focused on the spherical anomaly beyond Neptune. The sphere pulsed like a heartbeat in the cold void of space, a disturbing rhythm that seemed to call out to her. The feeling was almost physical, an invisible pressure in her chest, as if the sphere itself was reaching into her mind. "This is it," she said softly, as her fingers flew over the interface. "We're diving in." The tech around them hummed to life, their neural connections amplifying her every thought. She initiated the quantum link, a virtual thread that stretched across the stars, connecting their minds directly to the sphere. At first, nothing happened. Then, crack! The universe around them shuddered. Elara felt the fabric of reality bend, the matrix around them warping as though it had just been ripped apart and sewn back together. The sphere was fighting back, trying to sever the connection. Elara, Kai's voice cut through the chaos in her mind. It's resisting us. Whatever we're tapping into, it's too powerful. We need to pull back. No, Elara said through gritted teeth, struggling to maintain control. We're close. I can feel it. Her mind locked onto the sphere. It was no longer just an object. It was a presence, a conscious force, ancient and full of intent, wrapped in layers of time and space. She could hear whispers now, voices speaking in a language she didn't understand, but one voice was clear above the rest, a voice that sounded almost familiar. Elara Solis, the voice whispered, and though it was only a thought, it felt like it came from everywhere. You are not meant to meddle with time. The shock of it nearly broke her concentration. She recognized the voice. No, Elara whispered, this can't be possible. Elara, get out of there. Kai's voice came again, frantic. The sphere, it's too late, she murmured, and then she understood. The sphere wasn't just some artifact or a weapon, it was a prison for an entity that had once been a part of the Techno Mages' distant past, something they had locked away, something that had been forgotten. The entity that now spoke through the sphere was none other than the first Techno Mage, Sol, the one who had unlocked the ancient secrets of quantum manipulation, but who had gone mad with power. It was he who had broken the rules, reshaped reality, and nearly destroyed humanity in the process. To save the future, they had sealed him away in the sphere, a prison of time itself. But now, it seemed, Sol had found a way out. Elara, the voice echoed once more, I've waited so long for you to come, you, my descendant, you who have followed my path, who have unlocked the same knowledge. Join me. No, Elara spat, pushing against the tide of the dark presence. You don't control me, you're a prisoner of your own making. Your time is over. Sol's laughter rumbled through her mind, filling the void with its malevolent presence. You can't stop me, child. I am time. You are nothing more than a shadow of what I once was. Join me, and together we will reshape all of existence. I'd rather die than join you, Elara snarled, her body trembling from the strain of holding on. And then, with a final, desperate effort, she twisted the connection. She channeled every bit of her knowledge and power into one final push, severing the link between herself and Sol. Reality snapped back, a violent jolt as the mental connection shattered like glass. The sphere went silent. For a long moment, Elara's head spun, her body aching from the mental strain. Kai grabbed her arm, steadying her as she staggered back from the interface. Elara, are you all right? He asked, his voice a low growl. She took a breath, forcing herself to focus. The sphere is still there, but Sol, he's gone. For now, Kai said grimly. He'll be back. He always comes back. Elara's eyes narrowed, the weight of the situation settling heavily on her shoulders. Then we'll be ready. This time, we'll make sure that when we stop him, it's for good. They may have silenced Sol for the moment, but Elara knew that the battle for the future was far from over, and she would not rest until the nightmare of the Techno Mages' past was buried once and for all. The Techno Mages would stand firm, against time, against history, and against the darkness that would rise again.